So this is the starting point is growth. Everyone wants growth, be it the current situation or not. I mean, people want to grow. And when it comes to growth, these are the kind of typical questions that you are faced with. I mean, do you need to enter a new market? If you want to enter a new market, what are the kind of white spaces? What are the kind of value creation opportunities? I mean, how do you, if you have an existing line of products, how do you position them? How do you reposition it? How do you improve? I mean, with the current change in the market context, what new offerings do you bring in the market? How do you look at your portfolio? Are there any edges and market opportunities that you can tap into? Should you enter new geographies? What are the new customer segments? What are the new pricing plans? What are the new business models? How do you block, future competition? Like, say, for example, a lot of companies that I've personally worked with say that this is an area of interest for them. So how do you block out competition? How do you avoid being disrupted? And from a process perspective, how do you reduce cost, improve processes, improve customer experience? These are some of the most fundamental around growth you have to answer, be it for any type of business. Now, I'm going to show you a very simple 2x2 metrics around growth itself. I mean, again, I'm not going to go very deep into this because that's not the agenda of this, but this is a simple framework which can be used to gauge growth. So here you have your existing customers and you have your existing business systems, your channels and products. So this is the sustaining or the core business, where you want to improve your existing product, you want to improve messaging, you want to improve go-to-market, you want to improve, features around the product. So this is something which is core, which forms close to 60 to 80% of your business. That's the core. But you can use your existing business systems, channels, and products to also target new customers, which we'll call it as adjacent opportunities. Like currently you're serving one customer segment, you can slowly extend it to a new segment which you have not been serving earlier using your existing business systems itself. So that's another avenue which we call as adjacent opportunity. The second is you can build, slightly tweak your business model. You can add on new channels, you can add on new products and target your existing customers, which is another form of adjacent opportunity. Or you can, what we are seeing currently in the market, a lot of FMCG companies getting into hand sanitizer business. A lot of small manufacturing companies getting into ventilator business, because what you're doing is the market is opening up an opportunity and you're using your existing business systems to tap into that opportunity. So I'm not going very deep into this topic. I'd written a white paper around this, so I'll share it in the group. So if someone wants to read it in finer details, I'll leave it at that. Now, so when it comes to growth, these are some of, when we talk to companies, these are some of the kind of common myths or the problems that we generally face. The first thing that what people say is you need a big advertising budget, a big media budget to grow. And this is the kind of theory which a lot of marketing consulting and media agencies generally talk of. So you need to put money in the market to get market share. And it's a very linear relationship. What they talk of is the more money you put, the more market share that you get in the market. But this is a slightly warped theory. If you look at why I'm saying it's a warped theory is because you look at companies like a Zoom, a Google, a Chobani. These are all companies who have not spent massive money but have grown phenomenally. Why do they grow phenomenally? Because they have a very differentiated product and the product is so relevant that the market pulls it. Now, if your product or service is not very differentiated or not very relevant, then the weight of the media budget becomes a determining factor to win in the market. So, and this was proven again by a hypothesis when we were, in media trying to understand what is the correlation between the media spend and market share. What we realized is anytime the product is not very differentiated, you need to put more money, media money in the market. But the moment a product becomes very differentiated, becomes very relevant, the relationship between share of voice and share of market, or the money that you put in the market versus the money that you get out of the market, starts getting distorted, which is very good. In a sense, if you have a great product, so the rule is you don't have to spend too much money. And this was again proven by a hypothesis when we looked at products which were introduced in the market, which had a great innovation. And what we realized is communication or marketing activities tend to be at least 6x more efficient when you have a great new news around the product. So this is a hypothesis. So the key takeaway is that don't go with this myth saying that you need a lot of money to win in the market. One of the biggest determining factor is how relevant is your product for the customers, how differentiated is the product to the customer. And I mean, you need to look at it, media budget as an efficiency creating mechanism. That's the way you need to look at it. So the takeaway on this slide is create products or service which the customers demand so that you create a pull in the market and resist going to the market with very undifferentiated product. The second major myth is around innovation. Now, it's easy to say to have a very differentiated, relevant product, and to do that you need innovation. But innovation, again, the common myth in the market is it's very risky, it's very long term, there is no guarantee on return. I want to show you a slide from McKinsey around innovation. So in the survey, McKinsey surveyed all, across the globe, all the C-level executives, and everyone, 84% of that audience said that innovation is something which is very, very critical to the business, to the growth of the business. And the same group also told that 80% of business models currently are under risk. But if you keeping with this same audience also told that only 6% of this group is satisfied with innovation performance. So look at the paradox, which is a 94%, which is 84% agreeing that innovation is very, very critical for growth. Only 6% being satisfied with the innovation performance. So that means 94% of the executives are not satisfied with the innovation performance. Now, to show you another dimension of this particular slide is, where is this dissatisfaction coming from? Very few people know exactly what to improve on or what is the problem to actually solve. Everyone wants innovation, everyone wants a very differentiated product, but what are those nodes which you need to innovate on? No one has got an idea. And that is the root cause where this, what you call extremely low satisfaction around innovation is coming. So this is what actually happens. Like, you don't know what to innovate on. You don't know what are the revenue levers, and you're going out and innovating, and which doesn't have an impact on the bottom line or the revenues. So what we and before I get into the process, this is a simple thing. I want to present an analogy to you. Like, it's like saying, if you put a piece of paper in the sun, it's not going to burn. But if you were to focus the sunlight, using a lens, then the paper starts burning. It's as simple as that. So what we are saying is focused innovation on the customer struggling points or the revenue nodes, or where revenue can be untapped, creates actually growth. And we have a diagnostics to spot what are the unmet customer needs, struggling movements, white spaces, or the competition gap. And the process or the tool that we use is nothing but jobs to be done. It is a simple process, and I'll walk you through this context. What is jobs to be done and how to apply it to your business. So what is jobs to be done? This is the simple visual, which tells the story very nicely. People don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill. They want a quarter-inch hole. So in a sense, like most of the time, we have a certain product to sell and we are just forcefully selling that product. But the customer is actually buying a benefit out of that product. So what is jobs to be done? Jobs to be done is nothing but what's the problem which the customer wants to solve. I'm using your product to solve a certain problem. So the whole focus has to be on what is the customer trying to solve. What's the progress they want to achieve in a particular situation? Like, say, I'm a diabetic patient, so I want to keep my blood sugar under control. That's the progress which I want. So how does your product or service enable me? That's the simplest definition of jobs to be done. So this whole idea of jobs to be done is slightly different from the conventional way of thinking. And I'm going to walk you through 6 fundamental foundations of jobs to be done through some examples also, and then we'll look at some healthcare examples of how we have done it. The first thing is one of the foundations of jobs to be done is the whole idea saying that people hire products and services to get job done. In the sense, like, the whole idea is not to buy a product. What is that product enabling me to do? Why am I hiring that product? Is what jobs to be done is actually based on. What is the benefit which the customer wants from the product? I mean, rather than selling a product, it's the benefit that we need to focus on. The second is the unit of analysis is what is the customer trying to get done. It's not, I mean, typically I've worked for a very long time in marketing consulting. The entire focus, I mean, there was actually on the product and the other service. But in jobs to be done, what is the focus is on what the customer is trying to get done. What is the job which the customer is trying to do? And once you map out that process very clearly, then you go back and modify the product or tweak the product to enable the job being done very easily or without any difficulty. The third thing is jobs. Once you identify certain jobs, they tend to be stable. It doesn't change. Over a short period of time, and I'm going to show you an example of it. Let's take something which we all like, which is music. This is how the music industry evolved. First, you had the LP. Then you had the cassette, then you had the CD, then you had the MP3 player, now you have the streaming market. If you observe, when the cassette came, it actually killed the LP market. When the CD came, it killed the cassette market, and now streaming is killing the MP3 player market. Now, this happened, and there were multiple companies who got disrupted, who got killed. But if you, for one moment, every company was focusing from their product perspective. But for one moment, if you were to look at it from a customer's perspective, all along, now all these years, if you look at it from a customer's perspective, the customer wanted to listen to music. That was the basic job. But the way in which the customer was listening to music changed over a period of time. So this is one of the fundamental theories of what you call tenets of job to be done, saying that look at everything from a customer's perspective. What is the customer trying to solve? So, and these needs tend to be very stable. Like the job of listening to music and enjoying the music, it's stable right from the very early days to the current day. Everyone wants to listen to music, but the technology in which the technology that we have used kept changing. So that is that point which I told in the previous slide, saying job needs tend to be stable over a period of time. So it's like a simple example which brought together all the first three points. The second set of thing is context, or the situation in which the job arises determines the kind of solution being hired. I mean, just to give you a very simple example here, like say, if you are going for a formal meeting, you will dress in a certain way. But if you go for a casual evening out or a dinner, you dress in a different way. So what I'm saying here is the context in which the product gets used hugely determines the kind of product or service that a customer will buy. The second is understand the metrics that jobs to be done focuses a lot on understanding the metrics that the customer is using to evaluate a product. Like what I was telling you is when customer buys a certain product, he has got certain parameters in mind. These are the parameters in which the product has to perform. And if it is performing on those parameters, it creates satisfaction and he will buy. So what I'm saying is, before even selling to a customer, we need to understand, for any particular product or service that you want to sell, we need to understand what are the metrics which a customer is going to use to evaluate that product or service. And customers seek out solutions that get the entire job done better, faster, and cheaper. I mean, it's like saying today, if you look at any ad platforms, like say for example, you take Facebook, where you can create a creative, you can buy a media, you can select the. So that whole idea saying in a platform, people want to get multiple jobs done in a single platform. So I'll show you a very simple example from a health perspective. Now, if you look at any healthcare product or service, the core objective is always to improve the health, the health outcomes. Now look at it from, look at what are the different stages through which the product or service has to go. You need to create health and disease awareness. Then you need, create awareness among healthcare professionals. You need to create symptom awareness. Then you have a whole ecosystem of hospitals and clinics. Then you need to have medicines which can be preventive or curative. You need to understand the treatment and the usage guidelines. Treatment coverage, insurance parties. healthcare professional and patient support systems. So there's a whole lot of activities. Now let's get into a little what you call practical application of this. Now let's take a hypothetical diabetes care product and the monitoring device. India is known to be the diabetes capital of the world. So let's look at it from a healthcare product, which I think with IoT coming in, with small devices coming in with and pairing it with a mobile phone, it's becoming a very, very big market. So let's look at what are all the activities, and we will look at it from one of the major points. Like Google is also getting into healthcare. Even specialist healthcare companies are also there in healthcare. So how do you compete with the Google? That's what we are going to see. So, but if you look at it from a diabetes care product, so there are multiple stages which a customer has to go through. Like, he has to be made aware of a trigger or a need. The screening has to happen, the diagnosis has to happen, the consulting has to happen. The product recommendation has to happen, product usage has to happen, usage and monitoring tracking, usage feedback, corrective action, support ecosystem, disposal and upgrade. So there are multiple steps. So as I told earlier in my slide,